Good morning. Yep, welcome to another stream. It is 10:01 West African time, and we're just getting started over here, just setting up a few things, and we'll be good to go. All right, it's a chilly week. Yeah, you can tell from the lighting. I'm not using any artificial lighting. It's just the light from the outside. So it feels so. All right, let's go. So yeah, this is what we have so far. Okay, welcome back. We're doing a stream. We're doing a stream in the series called "Coding Like It's 2019," and the whole point of this series is to try and code without heavily relying on LLMs. And of course, you're going to face problems, you're going to face skill issues. And when we do, instead of going to an LLM or maybe deploying an agent, we're going to Google like we used to do in 2019. And so far, it has been fun. This is the fifth installation, and I can say the progress is slow. This would have been unshotted in like 10 seconds with an LLM, but we took our time, we went through the docs, we learned a lot, we remembered some stuff, and this is what we have so far. All right, so yeah, nothing very impressive. So we have a page where you can sign our guestbook. We have another page where you can go home, and you can tell our CSS skills are very wanting. This looks like a toy project. First of all, because it is, the UI is not meant to be as impressive, but the backend will be. And I was also thinking, because of how there's a lot of skill issues around CSS, maybe at some point we should just use Tailwind so that because it combines utilities, Tailwind does not absolve you from not knowing CSS. All it does is help you manage the code base better. So you don't need to remember, like, for example, where to put media queries and all that other stuff, container queries and stuff. You only worry about your markup. And maybe you're going to be able to do that. But now, today, what I wanted us to do was to fix this. If I press send, of course, we have the in-browser validation, which is good. But if there's any information, nothing much changes. So let us try and look on how. First of all, you can add feedback when a user submits so that you can tell them the thing they're doing was successful. So let's try and do that. All right, so this is how we left off yesterday. I think we were trying to do something on the layout. Let me just restart the editor from scratch so that we can move on nicely. So we go to our pages, we go to grid.view. So this is how we have our logic for greeting. We are not even handling errors and stuff like that, which I don't think is a big problem. So first of all, we need feedback when a greeting has been sent. Then we need to be able to reset this form. So let us go ahead and do that. So of course, we should probably wrap this in a try and catch block so that we can handle errors in the catch, right? I don't like the try and catch culture. Yeah, so when I moved to Rust, which borrows heavily from functional programming, we do not throw errors. We do not do that. We Errors are values, so we handle them. But now there's this culture of try. Then you come at the end of the block. Where does it end? It's over here. Then over here, we close the bracket. Then we catch. Then I think there's usually the finally do stuff here. So finally it's usually okay, so catch, this block will be triggered if there's an error from this. So of course, this is a promise, and it can return either undefined or a fetch error without any particular type. So that needs to be handled here. And we're going to handle it correctly instead of just doing it for the sake of it. Then we have a finally block here. So finally is where you can do stuff like maybe if you had a loading indicator, you can be able to maybe to stop it from here. So when everything is complete. So this will be triggered either there's an error or there's success. It doesn't matter. All right. So let us see. Now, another thing I don't like about this is that the IDE support for errors is very poor, as you'll see shortly. So you can see my error here is any. I need to somehow force it to look like a certain shape. Like I can say as unknown as something so that I can be able to get the particular error, but we're going to hack our way through it. We don't have anything to do in finally, but no. That's not how we do the catch error. We do this. Sorry, I forgot this is supposed to be a function. Then it it's a callback or whatever. Then it takes error. So error is unknown. I think being unknown is good so that you can be able to force it to be a particular type that you know it will be. And from our response over here, we can see it is a fetch error, which takes an any. I don't know what any of that means, but you're gonna cross the bridge when you get there. But let us continue now with our successful block. So if things go well, the execution will continue this way. So of course, the first thing you wanna do is if there's success, we need to reset our form. So we could do name dot value. No, why are you doing that to me? Name dot value equals email dot value equals message dot value equals undefined. I don't know if right. So let us go and just see how this looks for us on the browser. So let us choose a name. Another John Doe with email mail at john.com. Then the message is message. So what I expect to happen here is when I click sign guestbook, it should reset the form. Everything is blank. But it has not reset the form, it has only reset the value. So that is another complex thing we do if we, let's say for example, we do have, let me just change the camera here. I don't like the lighting on this one. Stage, I don't know if it will be wide enough. It is not wide enough, I'm just here. Okay, but I like the light in this one. That is a problem for another day, but for now, that is the first step. So at least the user knows something has happened so that they won't be panic tapping over here. That is cool. Now let us proceed to our second thing to do. So we need to show the user some feedback, right? So we can create a variable here. I'm leaving a space to intentionally show that this is a different section. I don't like leaving comments in the code base. I only leave comments when things are not easy to follow. Like for example, if you look at line 8, which is 2 lines below where I'm at right now, if you look at line 8, you'll notice there's a function called signbook. If anyone opens this code base and doesn't know what signbook means, they don't have a business programming. It is self-explanatory. You can just say, but sometimes things need to be explained. That is when you comment. Like for example, if there's a bug, if for example, we can't use undefined for name for some reason, I'll leave a comment there to say, okay, we can't do this because of this and that, so that any future maintainer can be able to say this. So here, I'm leaving a line, then I'm gonna declare a variable which will track the state of the message from the server. All right. I can name it success message. You could probably do better, but let me just do it. This might change. Then of course it's gonna be a ref. Then it's gonna be a string or undefined. Then we're gonna start with it as undefined. So now we probably will get something from the server. We are not getting a message from the server, only getting the exact response. So it would make sense. Maybe this would make sense in the future if we also returning a success message from the server. So this is what you're going to be getting from the server. So if you go to the server API, greeting.get, greeting.post, greeting.get here, right? No, after creating a greeting, so it's greeting.post. So if you go to the server, this is what you're returning. We're returning the greeting in an object. We are not returning any particular message and stuff. So, but for the front end, let us assume the server will return a particular message, but we're going to modify this message manually. So, new line, then we're gonna say success message equals, yeah, we can probably get something from the server from here. Oh, so we can modify it's a constant. So you can say success message dot value equals, then our good old template literals, message. Oh, okay, greeting sent. Then let us say, okay, we're forcing to return to pass the message ID over here. So let us pass the message ID. I don't know if this was typed res.data. Really? Okay, so res signature res is equals async data. We have an ID, async data which contains an object. So let us just hope this is okay. Oh, so use fetch. Oh yeah, I know now what you're doing wrong. So instead of just doing the entire res over here on line 10, we can destruct this because use fetch is basically also like async data. So we can have data here that was returned, and let us just name it data for now. It will make sense. Then the data will contain whatever was returned by the server. Value. Then we can have our values. So the id.message. So let us just return the ID and format that. Then let us go back to our browser. So we should be able to get that. So let us, yeah, typing this. Actually, do again. Ashley, uh, I'm gonna run out of the emails. Hello, hello website. Now, yeah, yeah, of course, of course, of course. So we've created this success message, which is undefined, but you're not actually using it. So I usually like going just on top of the form. Then let us create a small div for our alert. I should now start using classes because the markup is getting complex. Then it will be conditionally rendered. So there are two ways to conditionally render things in Vue.js. There is vif and there is vshow. So vif removes the thing, deletes particular container from the page completely if the condition is not met, and it creates it. But visual just toggles the CSS property for it. So you can show and hide, show and hide. So I think for performance, it's good to use visual. And VIF, maybe for some complex UI and stuff. So we do visual, then we do success message. So undefined is nullish. So if it's a string, it will show this part. If it's not, it will not. So even null is nullish. So we're on the clear here. So then here, I like just using paragraphs, even though you don't need to use it here. Then let us put our success message here. All right, success message, success message, success message. All right, so this, we should be able to see some kind of thing here on the browser. Yeah, so we can already see it is here, but it is kind of annoying, and we're going to discuss about that in a moment. Why and how we're going to fix this. So this is the last message we inserted. It is still lingering there. Then in our CSS, there are some things we need to do. So we have our section, we have our form. Yeah, we have to remember. So we're justifying every content to the center. To make things easier, so that I don't have to modify the CSS, maybe I should move this out here for now. Then just go back to, oh, sorry. I do not think. Yeah, let us just move it here. But let me just fight the CSS. Let me just fight the CSS. We're back here. Let me just fight the CSS. Okay, so in our CSS, everything inside here. So, but I want this to be on top of this, and it's a flex box. So if you check the page, you can say it is on the side because it's a flex box, but I want it to be exactly on top of it. So let us try and think on how we can do that. So we're displaying flex. So we can change the flex direction, I think. Please suggest styles. Oh yeah, you can do row, reverse, column. So I think rows up and down, columns to the side. So let's try row. If it doesn't work, we can just go ahead and do the other thing. I think the default is row. All right, so column. It is not working. Yeah, it is good. It is good. It's good. Okay, so it is on top of each other, but on the side somehow. Not exactly how I like it. Yeah, flexbox, flexbox, flexbox. So, all right, so let us just debug. Let us debug this thing. Let us debug this. Oh, okay, so border 1px solid. No, I'm just gonna go straight to Tailwind CSS. I'm gonna struggle with this. So where's our border? All right, so this is the flexbox. Why isn't it justifying content center? Okay, so this is the part where we can go to MDN flexbox, and just see what we might be missing over here. All right, so flexbox is one-dimensional layout method for arranging items in rows and columns. Items flex, which flex means expand to fill the additional space, or shrink to fill smaller spaces. Purpose of a flexbox is to lay a set of block in line. Yeah, the boring yada yada yada. We already know that. We're smart people with skill issues. So a sample flexbox example. So we have our section, we have our article, first article, second article, third article. Okay, could you also show us visually? We are visual learners. That's kind of more like it. So CSS, article padding, margin, add your flexbox CSS below here. No, this has not been added. Additional article. Okay, so sample flexbox example. First article. So first we display flex, of course. Then we can place things next to each other. Flex model. So we have a flex container. Main start, cross end, cross size. Okay, I'm not getting anything here. The main axis is the running direction of the flex. The thing I'm looking for is flex direction, which is the direction of the main axis. So if you do add so this is what you've done, I think. Column, or we should just go with grid at this point. Then alignment. Let us see, we have flexbox here. So flex shorthand versus longhand, horizontal alignment. All right, so justify. So should we just call justify items? Justify items center. Chat, who remembers flex? I do not at all. Not helping. I have this flexbox. I have children. Let me remove this conditional statement here so that we can be able to develop. Or let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this so that we can be able to develop without having to submit again. So let me name this demo or something. So this will be removed after we're done with the styling. Styling is so annoying. So saved. Yeah, so we have these two items and somehow I want to put them, okay, you know what, I'll just go with tailwind. All right, so every child, okay, so what's happening here? So we have a section, we have children. Ah, I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. Flex items sit across the axis. By default is normal stretch flex box. You can align flex and justify content control so the flex items sit to the main axis. You can nest flex boxes. Article. Oh, woo, 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 woo. Yeah. So main axis flex direction, main axis, if you choose a column, I think we're doing column, so it arranges them from top to bottom. Or should I like add another, just a parent div over here? So section is displaying flex and we're struggling to center this thing. So we could just one more div, bro. One more div. Then just before the section, so that we can treat the child as another thing. then format this code, of course. Then let us see what we've done with our lives. All right, now have I saved it? Then here, instead of saying flex column, flex direction column, let us just remove this. Then go back to our page. Okay, that kind of works. So all we needed is one more div to do the magic we wanted. Then let us remove our debugging, our CSS debugger over here. That is good enough for me. We will fix the styling. Now we're just worrying about the layout looking good. Then this section with demo should at least look slightly beautiful. So, and this is the point where I'm gonna start using classes because nesting is becoming a problem for me. All right, so we can say, let's call this an alert. Then go back here. So inside our section, we have under anything with an alert, or we can be more specific, div.alert. So alerts usually contain border green. This is what I think alerts should look like. Hello, 1px, solid. But now let us do green. Oh, sorry, I'm showing the wrong thing. So yeah, so I've added a styling for our alert over here. So let us go back to the page. And cool, our alert div is taking the entire page. The alert div should have a child because it is flexing the same as. I think I should have a child. People should have children, right? But let me just continue styling it as this. Then we're gonna do the alert as the child. Then we'll have border radius. What was our border radius again? Border radius 15. Let us do 10px. All right, then let us give it a margin bottom. We want space. Baby, I need some space. Margin. I don't want, not the entire margin, but the margin bottom. I think we'll have another stream to just do proper styling. But for now, let us just make it look reasonable. So let us give it like 7px over here. Don't ask me I'm getting 7px. It is intuition. Someone told me this in a dream. So that is what we're doing. All right. So, oh, what am I doing again? All right. So, okay, good enough. So the text too should be that same color. I could either use background color green. Then the text, I don't know if the contrast will look good. Then the text should be white. Yeah, it looks horrible. Oh, the color is you just call color. I don't know who designed this. White. Then let us add some padding. We will have a styling stream. We can't let it live like this. Then padding. No, not auto. I want padding to be like, let us do 3px. Let us do 8. I don't know. I'm guessing these values and just seeing if it looks nice. So that's what we have over there. It's our padding. I can say, okay, good enough. Good enough. Then we will have a styling stream. So that's it. Now let us remove this default value over here so that we can start on a clean slate. I hope there will be no layout shifts. Now, if John Doe leaves a greeting, mail at john.com. All right, so hello. We get this. So far, so cool. But we have an issue over here. This message is lingering like forever. And if someone wants to maybe add another greeting, they won't know if, first of all, I'm getting undefined for the message ID. Why? Why? Okay. So we're going to debug another thing again to see why you're getting the message ID as blank. Maybe it failed and we didn't know, which is a good sign. Okay, so John Doe again. I'm running out of email. I should just delete that database and start over. Hey people. Then oh yeah, I think the insert failed, but I'm not handling error server side. So this logic assumes that we're doing the correct thing, so which is okay. And now we'll deal with that later. But now here we have an issue. This message is lingering forever, like forever until you refresh the page. And maybe if we go home, I think it will disappear, and you go back to say hey, it will disappear. But if you are staying on the same page, it is always not a good idea to uh, a random domain.com. This should work. That's a very unique email. Message ID 9 in the database. So let us fix this. Let us keep this for like 5 seconds, then disappear it. All right. So where can we put that kind of logic? Right over here. So this is where this part makes sense. So we can either do this when someone is submitting. We can also make sure we delete the previous success message so that we can be able to re-add it. But now when someone is submitting, we want to remove it here. So here, after everything has happened, we can call set timeout. We don't want to remove it immediately, which I think takes the first callback. As a we can give it an arrow function, then you can say success message dot value equals undefined, then give it like 5,000 milliseconds, which is 5 seconds. Then it should disappear after that amount of time. All right, so back to our page. Let us do Jando mailer at some kind of domain.com. I shouldn't have added email. But we'll deal with the fallback. So the message, I'm out of messages. I can just say things over here. Then the message ID is 10. Then it should disappear momentarily. Cool. That looks good. All right. So back to our browser. So what else is left to do? Okay. So let us see what happens when. So in an ideal system, we need to give user proper feedback. Okay. First of all, we're validating with the browser. This is safe for normies, but Attack will eat you for lunch because I showed you in the first stream that this can be easily be disabled from here. So you can just come to the form, then you don't even need to remove the required part. You can come to any part of the form over here and say, not on the action, I want to add an attribute over here. Add attribute, add child next sibling attribute. Then you can just say no validate. And you might be asking yourself, why does no validate exist? So no validate exists in cases where you want to handle, so the browser tries to handle everything for you, but no validate exists when you want to manually handle that with the JavaScript. The same way we can be able to capture, when we click submit, what the browser is supposed to do is send the entire page to the server with a post request with all that information, then wait for the server to respond and render that response. But sometimes you want to stay on the same page like you're doing and handle the things with JavaScript. That is why it allows us to be able to intercept all actions and prevent default under the hood. So for some reason, this is legal. You can do no validate. So if I press send, you can see it is sending a message in the server and it's coming undefined. So there's no validation on the front end and the server is returning an error. This can be catastrophic. This is why you do not trust the browser to validate for you. I've seen many production apps that do this, and yeah, I just wonder, guys, why would you do this? Why? Don't you love peace? Don't you love sleeping peacefully? You know, deploying something like this in the wild, yeah, it is just scary. I wouldn't sleep well. Anyway, enough of that rant. So let us continue with our iteration. So I've just shown you how novalidate is bad, and we are specifically using novalidate so that we can be able to capture this error. So the server returned an error, and you might have noticed something. It triggered our message rendering despite it being an error. So that is one thing about fetch. So fetch only fails when there's a network error. But when you get a response, you need to check the status. If the status is not in the range of 200, then something is wrong. If it's the range of 400, for example, you can say there's a user input error. Either you're not authenticated, you're not authorized, the validation failed or something. If it's the above 500 and above, it is a server error. And this should not be a 500. It is a 500 because of not handle error. Yeah, if you can see in my console over here, it should not be a 500 error at all. This shows poor management. Like this is just poor building stuff. This should be maybe a 422, which could be unprocessable entity. Yeah, there is a very big confusion between, is it for, not for 400, error 400. Let us digress for a bit. So status code 400. Status code 400. We're going to MDN. We don't go anywhere else. Yeah, just like when you're researching dark things, you add Reddit. We do add MDN for web dev stuff and general things to do with the internet. So if you look at the definition, the 400 is a bad request. So the status code indicates the server would not process the request due to something that the server considered to be a client error. The reason 400 response is typically due to malformed request syntax, invalid request message framing, or deceptive request routing. Clients that receive 400 response should expect that repeating the request without modification would fail the same error. So what is this saying in plain terms? So this is not a validation error because I'll show you what I use for validation error so that we can spot the difference. So the reason for 400 response is typically due to malformed request or syntax. Let's say the server has told you, I want you to only send me JSON. And for some reason, you're sending XML like it is 2002. That is a bad request. So the server does not know how to handle this. Like, I did not ask for this, so I'm going to reject it. So you might have sent the correct information, but you send it in a wrong way. Yeah, like you're trying to bypass. So basically, how to think about 400 is the server told you to do one thing and you did your own thing. All right, so they're even giving us an example. Assuming a rest exists and you use an invalid JSON with an accept breaks. So you can see something like invalid should be a 400 request. and like that. So, and ideally, you should return a message, but sometimes you don't know what's wrong, so that's okay. So, what do you do if the request you're expecting is correct, but the request you're expecting is correct, but for some reason, just the data is not correct. For example, we do have here, we expected an email, someone sent an email, but that email is invalid. Let's say it doesn't exist or any stuff like that. So what do you do in that case? So that is where I invoke my favorite, which is a 422. So the request is correct. The server understood it, but it has refused to process it. So the status code indicates that the server understood the content, the type of request, and the syntax of the request. The content was correct, but it was unable to process it because the content instructions. So I think this is the perfect one for validation errors. We understood. We asked you to send a JSON. Yes, you did. We asked you to send the content. Yes, you did. But the message, let's say the message you expect an integer, or let's say maybe a phone number or something else, but you sent a photo. So this is a 422. And that is what should have happened here on our browser. So this, when you're handling errors properly, this should not be a 500. It should be something neater. So it means it is time for us to try and handle error server side and see. So we're gonna do a crude validation where we're not validating the type, we're only validating the existence. If there's no existence for a particular field, we just remove it altogether. All right, so back to coding. So here, let us try and fix a mistake from the server. So greeting.post. So we have our values here. So I don't know how we can have one blanket if statement. Let us just create many if statements for now. So because we're validating every field, or we could do this because we also want to return a 422. So or we could create an array or an object where you can store messages. So our errors. So you can const validation errors. Let us name things exactly as they are. Equals. Let's just do an object. No, not an array for now. Let us just do an object. Then we come and check if name does not exist. How do we write if functions again? If the name does not exist, we do so validation errors. Can push work? How do you append things to? So validation errors. Will this work? I don't know. It's been a minute since I did this. Equals. Usually people put an array because you can have multiple errors. So we can say, please enter your name. Name is required. Name is required. So I don't think that is the correct way to do. So element implicitly has any. So let us try and type this. So can this be a record with the title being a string, then values being an array of strings so that TypeScript can shut up. Thank you, TypeScript. Now, yeah, so we are validating the thing. So then let me just copy the entire thing again, then do the same for email. Then over here, we just do email. Then we say email is required. email is required. Then again, copy the entire thing, yank it, or we don't copy in Vim. We do not copy in Vim. We do not paste in Vim. We yank, okay? We yank. Don't say copy when you're referring to Vim. Anyway, so let us continue. Message. Then let us do. So we are creating our error body. So message here. There's a way for doing uppercase in Vim, but I forgot. I don't remember. I don't remember. So was it? Let me do. So was it this? Oh yeah. So that is lowercase. Oh yeah. So this toggles. So I shouldn't. So if I have message, for example, and I want to capitalize a particular word, I just put the cursor on top of it. Then there's that button below escape that looks like a squiggly line. So you just press shift and that, and you have your uppercase. I think it also works for entire words. Like if I go visual and do tag required, I can be able to do required, which is cool, right? I don't know why you're not using Vim yet. Anyway, so here we need to check. So after running this, validating this, the next thing we need to do is to check if validation errors is empty. Okay, so I don't know, I don't remember how to do validation. Oh, so we need an if function. If I don't know why my IntelliSense just disappeared. Validation errors. Okay, let me just Google this real quick. I don't remember exactly how to do this. Okay, check empty in JS. I think it's a big problem. People have been Googling this. So we're gonna skip this because this is cheating. We're going straight to here. Stack Overflow 17 years ago. So this guy asks, after Ajax request, sometimes application returns an object like this. How do I check whether that's the case? So this guy created a function to check. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not creating a function. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Ah, it is. I can hack my way through it. I could just do dot keys or something, but I gave it a record. If object keys validation errors dot length is greater than 0, I think this should work, hopefully. Then that's an error. So we're gonna call set response status to 422. Then no, we need to pass the event first. Then 422. Then after that, we're going to return validation errors. Okay, so let us return an object, then message. So message, then let us say validation failed. Then the second thing we put in here is validation errors. Then errors is equals validation errors equals to, all right, looks cool. So we should be able to get a 422 with the validation errors on the browser. So let us go back here. Yeah. So we're getting a 422. Then it is passing all our messages, like the message, email required. So far so good. So validation failed and stuff. But now we have a problem. We say our it still tells the user the operation was successful. So we need to kind of show some of this to the user in the browser. So let us try and do that. Okay, so we come here. So back to the front end. Yeah, full stack is hectic. Read to view. And I'm even getting a warning. So it can either be, yeah, somehow it knows my schema has changed. So I need to check. So what else do you get from this destructuring? So you can get data. Can you get the status? Yeah, we can get the status. So we first need to check. So if status value, it should return to one. I had this status should not. So let us see the value. No. We are doing the wrong thing. So status value is async request data request status. No, that's not the thing we're looking for. We're looking for HTTP status or something. Okay. How do I know everything that is contained in here? So use fetch returns what? So it can return a message or a string. Let me see what else and define greeting async data. Use fetch mail string errors. So I don't know what else. So it contains a refresh. So I don't think I should be using use fetch. I think I should be using this. Yeah, I think I should be using this instead. Then without the wrapper, and this means some things will need to change. Let me just do res. Then let us check the signature. So if res, so we want to check if this response was a success. Not quite what I'm looking for. Not so helpful. Or can I do like the browser one? If res is okay, I don't know. Okay, so let us just go and see how. So let us go for the documentation of this composable. I think you're missing something. Use fetch. Okay. It returns data, status, error, refresh, clear. So is a composable meant to be called directly in setup function plugin? It returns a reactive composables and handle adding responses. So I don't think I should be using this. I should be using this directly, but let us see. So using query, because I'm submitting some information to the, so status I could be, because it is around async data, status could be something like pending, in progress, or error. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Let me just try something here. So undo, 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 undo. So maybe you could check. So if status value dot, we have length. So let us see O. Then let us see 1. I don't think that's it. So let us go to documentation for fetch and see what we could be missing. So using fetch in components without wrapping it in user sync data causes the thing to be fetched initially on the server. But this is if you're doing get, if I'm not wrong, to prevent. So use fetch or async data to prevent double fetching. So if this thing is server-side rendered and you use fetch, of course it will do that. But what we want to do is submit some data. So contact form, so we do, instead of, okay, so fetch, if you, all right, passing headers and cookies, up index, okay. Guys, so maybe we need to go and see what offetch does. So passing users, so we can do offetch, JSON body. It will automatically return the thing you want. Google for auto retry, experimental. Guys, error handling. Oh, we can do interceptors, which is cool. Offetch, you can use native, server-side events, proxy support, ban and Dino license. Okay, guys, examples. Body error handling.mjs. I don't know. Okay, so if we can keep use fetch. So I think here we also have access to error. All right, so error. So name.value. Okay, so that should happen if status. Yeah, we're out of time. Status dot value. Yeah, we'll have to pick this up tomorrow. Oh yeah. So if we get a success over here, this should happen. I think we got it. Yeah, that was quite a struggle. So I think we got it. So why is it telling me this will not exist? Because it is seeing two different versions of my response. They're not, but I'm sure if the status is success, so this is when I'm fighting TypeScript. I am sure my response will look in a certain way if the status is success, like on top there. So it's telling me I can't have ID here. So this is why I'm telling TypeScript. Go to the next line. Then let us do TS expect error. Then tell it my code, dude, my code. Okay, this is bad practice. You should explain exactly why you expect an error here. So because I am sure if the status is success, this will happen. If it's not, something else will happen. All right. Then, so we will not invalidate anything if the status is not success. So let us go back in our page and see what happens. So, okay, so let us go back to our elements, then set no revalidate on the form section, div data, where's our form? And add attributes. And the attribute should say no validate. Then if we submit, cool. So we're not getting the success message anymore. If we check the network, you're getting errors. That is exactly what you want. We are not resetting the form, we're not getting the success message. So then somehow we need to show these errors and stuff. All right. So we can either just list them on top here. We can flatten and insert them. Okay, but because of time, let me just dump the entire object over here. So let us do so that tomorrow we can beautify it. All right, so let us do const. Let me just be specific. Validation error. I'm gonna just call it a string for now. Ref string undefined. Then so if status value equals error, if status equals error, so let us say validation error dot value equals response data, of course, dot value dot message. What do you mean? Why did I type my thing here? Is so it should be string or undefined. String or undefined. So what is contained in the error again? I think this should be if it's a 500. So I'm just gonna log it here. So I'm just gonna log error here, over here so that you can see the difference. And I think also we have our alert here. Then we can do our error, our class, error, then validation error over here, then over here too we do validation error, and that should do it for now. So if we press send, we should be able to see something here, and something should be logged on the database. Now we need to go back. It refreshed the page, so we need to go back form, or let us just do validate on the entire thing. Okay, let us just leave it like this for now. Section, data, form, add attribute, validate. Then if we submit, we should be able to see something logged on the console, and another, it will be green, but it will be blank with no styling, but should appear here. So let us see read only dot value. No, let me just add, logging here. Some things are off. Error dot value. All right. Okay, let me just do no validate for the entire form for now. I don't want to keep on. All right, so yeah, so it showed us a HTTP error. So we could just show this to the user instead of trying to grab the thing we're trying to grab. Yeah, and you can see if the component is already mounted, it is telling me to use fetch instead, which maybe we'll deal with tomorrow. 422 unprocessable entity. All right, so why is our thing not working again? Okay, in our CSS, div.alert, let's just copy everything. This is bad thing. This is why we suck. Okay, div.error. Error. So our greens will be replaced with red. So it's an error for now. That is how we do it. All right, so why isn't my div showing? Why are you not showing? So here, if yeah, this is passing, so data value. Let us try and log. Data.value again. Okay, so if there's an error, we're not getting a value. So that's a cool lesson. So should we do error? But that's not what we want. Error.value. All right, can I force it to do errors? I'm sure this exists. All right. We should be wrapping up anyway. Yeah, we'll figure that out tomorrow. So here you can only do message. So this is weird, right? So we can either have error, status. So if status dot value equals to error, yeah, this is weird. This is weird. So anyway, so right now we're able to at least show a validation message if the server failed. So that is proper feedback, but it is still not enough. So tomorrow we'll begin by trying and showing exactly this to the user. I don't know where that went. We'll try and figure that out. So we're getting 422, which is good, blah, 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 and stuff. So that is all for today. For those who stayed up to this end, yeah, sorry for the ultra long stream. We'll try and keep it shorter to, let's say, around 40 minutes daily. But yeah, let us meet again tomorrow as we complete this. And if you have ideas for other things you could stream, and I'm looking for things that we can do recreationally, something that you can play in the background, just drop a comment. And thank you, and see you on the next. Bye bye.